Welcome back to the weekly watch list video brought to you by DeepView. That's a platform that you currently see right here, and it's my go-to daily driver for charting, screening, alerts, watch list management, and a whole lot more. Definitely check it out if you're a techno fundamentalist, cancel type trader. It's the best platform out there for that style of trading. The link is down below in the description. With that said, let's go ahead and dive right into my weekly watch list here. And so before that, let's do a quick review of the market health. I did a full video on this yesterday, which will be linked down below, but we're back in a uptrend based on the QQQ. We're back above a rising 21 EMA, wedge pop type action here on Friday, but bringing up the IWO and the SPY, these charts are a lot weaker and still some work to do to get back above, the moving averages. So in terms of the QQQ and a lot of growth stock action, definitely strong signs that we're going to start some type of new rally to the upside, but we'll have to see and wait to see if we get fall through day off the price action on Friday. But let's go ahead and dive right in with that context in mind to my watch list. So ACMR, more of a swing trade, high momentum type name. Ideally, we get some type of tight range here before we try to push through this pivot. Definitely was actionable Friday through these highs and even through these lows and the 21 EMA. But I'm watching for a tight range to form as it tries to kind of mature this short-term consolidation. I love how it found support at this prior base pivot right here and how we're back above a rising 21 EMA. It was even actionable down here off the base pivot. You can see reconfirmation upside back through that 21 EMA, but we'll see if it lets us have another potential buy point where you can manage risk. That is the most important thing. If you can't manage risk tightly and logically, there's no setup out there. Moving on, we've got AKAM. This has been in a nice uptrend, held up really well during the correction, and is really obeying this downward trend line. You can see it was stopped once again here on Friday on that at that imaginary area. So I'm watching that level of interest as well as these highs, and we'll see if this can fall through off the upside reversal on Friday. If you definitely want this to go pretty soon, either with a tight day and then push through, or immediately Monday on a push through. So we'll have to see what happens. Overall, decent growth numbers down here, as you can see from the fundamentals, not super high, but there is some growth and you see some acceleration coming in later on. Moving on, we've got app. This had a nice reversal bar, as many stocks did on Friday, off the 50 SMA area. It's right at this kind of early pivot, still below this consolidation pivot. So watching for continued fall through to the upside where you can manage risk at the 21 EMA, this low that's a little bit wider, or the top of this range, however you would like to handle that. Coursera, a promising IPO that I'm watching, looking for a push through on volume through this level, following through off Friday's action and this nice upside reversal as well. I love how this overall consolidation during the market correction was only, it was less than 7% deep. That's pretty tight, and this has been in a really nice trend and is in a nice spot overall, and some really nice growth numbers expected later on. Supposed to turn a profit over in here, and some solid revenue growth. But we'll have to see what happens. But overall, the price action is pretty nice. You've got some downside reversal action off this level, so once it gets up here, we'll see if we can finally push through that on volume. CrowdStrike, the cyber names really stood out, along with just in general, cybersecurity is acting really well. Software is in general acting quite well, but cybersecurity, a subset of that is definitely in focus. Obviously, there's been some terrible news, Israel and Palestine, so that conflict is probably leading to a little bit of this momentum, but bringing it back to stocks, nice action, really strong breakouts, and just waiting for a spot where you can manage risk. Tight inside day, fall through to the upside, drift downwards, mini flag, push back to the upside, something like that. If you can handle risk and manage it tightly and logically, this is definitely a name to look for an entry in if you didn't buy through these highs. It wasn't quite as tight as I'd like it back in here, which is why it was on my wider list, but not on my focus list. But looking back, you can see it respected this base pivot really nicely. Upside reversal, outside day here on this day, and then it just went the next day. So definitely a name to have on your radar. ZSCALER as well. Okta, CYBR, Cyber, those are all moving together. So it's a group theme that definitely I'll be taking a look at. Moving on, we've got Duolingo, watching for a push higher from this range. I love the kind of fundamental story with this name. Great growth numbers as well. It's not yet profitable, but the revenue growth is there. And I've heard a lot of stories about the addictiveness of this application. NVIDIA, nice fall through. Nice action here through the 50 SMA, this high, as well as the consolidation pivot. So I'm watching for some type of, basing pattern for, a short-term spot where you can manage risk against. And it's still early. It's still kind of halfway up this base. So we'll have to see whether it continues to act well. But definitely a name to have on your radar because semis were also a group that stood out on Friday. PLTR, again, really nice move on Friday through 50 SMA, this consolidation pivot. Cheat area, if you draw a line right here, it also corresponds with that. We'll see if you can break through these highs. You can see it tried to push higher through the anchor VWAP and failed today here and as well as here. And we'll have to see if this attempt can hold. Strong action on Friday. Would like to have seen more volume, but we'll see if we continue to push up the right-hand side of this base. I love the strength of the prior uptrend and nice estimates for earnings growth as well as revenue growth supporting that, although you do see some guidance being revised downwards here in Diffuse. So we'll have to see what happens, but definitely a name I'm tracking early on as it tries to push higher and complete this base. SAIA, this is a trucking company. Nice prior uptrend, nice base, and then a clear pivot right here. Still below the 50 SMA, but we'll see if we can push higher through this level. SMCI, it's at that kind of key level where it's either make or break, where it's trying to push into this gap down area. Definitely some flaws within this base, but it's been a very strong performer, and we'll see if it can, form some type of tight pivot and then push through. Actionable late last week. Ideally, we get some tight action, and then it reconfirms the upside to kind of, absorb this strong action, set up a nicer pivot where you manage risk really tightly, and we get a nice pop from that level. Tesla, nice action on Friday, oops reversal, and basically just watching for fall through, breakthrough these highs, and hopefully the start of another uptrend similar to this if you can get past these points of resistance. This also has a gap area to be aware of. If we do get to this level, you can see try to rally up to that area, wasn't able to fill it. So this will be a key test if we do get up to that point. But you've got the moving averages curled beneath it and, nice estimates going forward, some acceleration expected as well. Within the kind of same type of space, but a much more speculative swing trade type name, we've got XPEV. Really strong move up here and then a base, and now it's trying to push off the moving averages. Was actionable Friday outside day, and you've got a consolidation pivot up here 18.6 and just watching for fall through and a really strong move up the right hand side of the base. Lastly, we've got MBLY, also related to that space, autonomous driving, this is an IPO I'm watching pretty closely to see if it can tighten up and start a major move if it does manage to break through this base. It had a decent move from its IPO, and now it's been basing for pretty much an entire year almost, and definitely want to see it tighten, change character a little bit because it's a little bit wide and loose throughout this base and throughout even this move. So ideally it matures a little bit and we start to see a nice clean trend above the moving averages. So that's pretty much a run through of my overall watch list. I've also got my wide watch list here, which has some more names that have already made really nice moves, aren't quite as ready, but I'll be taking a look at these as well. And I'll put the links to both my focus list as well as this overall list down below in the chat. I wrote a whole article kind of walking through my process of how I developed this list. So if you want to check it out, the lists are contained in there. But overall package software, the biggest theme that I see, cyber within that, definitely acting well, as well as semis. They're also acting quite well. We've got some mega caps that are also performing really nicely. So we'll have to see whether the momentum sticks from the QQQ. Can't type here, QQQ. And if we've got a strong week ahead of us, I'd love to see us get back above the 50 SMA, move higher within this base, and then, consolidate near this area over, during this period, and then pop through and eventually break out to new 52-week highs after this pretty typical correction within an overall uptrend. So we'll have to see what happens. Don't need to predict, just need to interpret the price action day to day. But with that said, I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, please go ahead and leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in future videos. Take care.